Okay, it's 10 a.m. in the Netherlands, so let's start. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to today's Energy Tech Talks. My name is Gert-Jan Schilder. I'm CCO at technologycatalog.com, and I will be the host of today's webinar. Our marketing manager, Martina, is also in the call for support. Today's webinar is organized with Frontline, and the presentation will be done by Mr. Luis Martinez, CEO and co-founder of Frontline. Frontline is a Singapore-based deep technology company with the mission to help teams optimize their construction resources and schedules to deliver just-in-time, best-in-class projects. Luis will present to you how their AI-powered tools, Trender, Analyzer, and Optimizer, are helping teams around the world transform how they schedule and manage construction projects. You'll get an exclusive look into how these tools work in practice, the impact they've delivered, and the value they bring to your projects. During the webinar, you can type your questions in the Q&A box on the left-hand side of the screen, and we will go through the Q&A at the end of the session. Luis, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Gert. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. As mentioned, my name is Luis Martinez, and I'm the founder of Frontline. We are a startup based in Singapore. And from the very beginning, we focused on one thing and only one thing, which is bringing AI, artificial intelligence technology, into the world of planning and scheduling, with special focus on industrial projects, industrial and construction projects. And today I want to show you how our software works across all phases of the project to deliver substantial value. But first, I always like to start with why is this important, or why do we care, or why should you care, right? And the reason for this is also in my past life and my work experience, I experienced this firsthand. Project planning, any kind of meaningful project, is very complex, and it is also done manually, and this means it takes too long. On average, 72% of industrial projects are delayed, and the average delay for those projects is 14% over time versus the original plan. Sometimes you have these edge cases where the projects are delayed by almost double, triple the time. And then on average, the overcost versus the original budget is 12%. So this is a significant miss in terms of what was planned and what was delivered, right? When we've looked at the data over the past 5 years, we found that in many cases, the project plan that was being followed was suboptimal in terms of duration of activities, sequencing of activities, resource allocation, and all of this came to a point where the schedules were inflexible to absorb any changes, any impacts on the project, because let's face it, the reality is that nothing goes never as planned. Even on the first day of the project, things are going to be changing. So it is important that the teams are able to react to these changes and make them best out of it. And what we mean by suboptimal is not that they were bad plans. They were very good plans, but they could be improved in terms of duration, use of resources, and ultimately cost. Why do we say that in many cases these plans were suboptimal? Simply because creating a plan for a construction project is super complex. Let's say the simplest of projects may have more than 1,000 unique activities. And these activities need to be done by hundreds of different resources with tens of working calendars and typically more than 100 constraints or milestones for the project. So if you put all of that together, you get almost millions of possible combinations to plan that project. And then we're asking a person, a human being, a project planner, to come up with the best plan to do this work, right? And this person needs to do it manually. So the chances of this person of finding the best possible plan are basically zero. It's impossible because there are so many combinations. Not only this, learning from past projects is extremely hard, because if one project is already very complex, digging into how you've done in the past 10 projects is 10 times more complex, because you don't have the knowledge on the project and the project itself is very complex. So learning from the past is very hard to store, reuse, and apply on your project. It takes weeks to develop a single project or turnaround schedule. And then once you have this first draft plan or schedule, it takes so long to make changes, analyze the impact of changes, analyze possible delays that you have, possible mitigations, because all of this needs to be done manually by a human planner that needs to do all of these changes on a scheduling software tool manually, see what's the impact, report this impact, and then the project team will decide what's the best way forward for the project. Dealing with such a complexity is very hard for humans, but it is very easy for artificial intelligence. AI can, starting from a project schedule with a sequence of activities, resource plans, etc., can study thousands of options in just a matter of seconds and find the, let's say, the best ones for the different criteria so that the human planner can choose. And what we mean by best, it could be reducing project duration, reducing or minimizing the use of resources, or maximizing the use of resources to reduce idle time, or ultimately, how do we build this project in the most least expensive way, right? So all of these options are something that AI can study very quickly and present to the user. Moreover, if you can learn from the past and bring those learnings into your current schedule, then you're taking this all the way to the next level in terms of planning and scheduling. A little bit on us and why do we think we're fairly good at solving this problem. From the very beginning, we started the company in 2021, and from the very beginning, we were focused on bringing artificial intelligence technology into the world of planning and scheduling, and we've been working with energy leaders worldwide since then. We've worked in more than 14 countries, on projects on more than 14 countries, on more than 150 projects, and the total value of those projects combined is more than $25 billion US. What this shows is that the challenges around planning and scheduling are shared worldwide. It doesn't matter if you're doing a project in Indonesia, if you're doing it in Spain, my home country, or you're doing it in the US. The challenge of dealing with the complexity of a large project schedule is shared equally among all players. And in order to tackle this challenge, we've developed the world's first artificial intelligence that understands industrial projects in the energy sector and in the infrastructure sector. In order to understand the project, we had to break it down in 4 different parts. The first step is looking at the past, and that's where we have a module called the Frontline Trender that helps to analyze past projects. What were the average productivities by type of activity, the average resource allocation by type of activity, what was the plan, what was the action, so comparing what was the plan and what was the reality, and based on that, extract those insights that you can use to schedule and plan future projects. The next step is to optimize the project that you're planning right now. And that's where where our module, the Frontline Optimizer, can be of help. Here is what we've been discussing up until now. Letting AI exhaust all the possible scenarios to execute that project within a set of constraints, obviously, and we will show you how this works. But basically study all the typical what-if scenarios that a human planner may ask him or herself, studying all of those scenarios automatically, finding what's the impact in terms of duration, cost, use of resources, and select the best way forward. Then let's say we start to build the project, execute the project, or start the turnaround. There, our Frontline Analyzer tool helps you to understand what's going on every single day. So every time there's a project update, our AI will check what are the changes with respect to the original plan, what are the trends in terms of those changes, where is the project heading to, and then tying this back with all the other modules so that you can, let's say that the project is slipping away from the baseline, then what would be the mitigation measures that can be put in place to try to recover this project. And underlying all of these modules is what we call the Frontline AI Planner, which is our latest tool. And it's an artificial intelligence agent that helps you to build project schedules based on past history, based on the scope that you need to do this very efficiently, and then allow you to then optimize these schedules. And I want to show you a sneak peek of how this would work, and then I will demo it on the platform. So here I have a video of our AI planner where I'm going to upload a document. It's a tender document for a specific project. So I'm going to upload this document, and then I'm going to give the AI planner a prompt, build a schedule to build a gold mine. It has to have 4 parts: engineering, procurement, construction, 50 tasks per part, and 2 levels. So here it has come up with a first pass schedule. And then on this schedule, I can further refine it. I can select the specific activity and tell the AI planner, hey, please subdivide this activity in 4 different activities. So then it has done this. And with this, I want to show you the platform directly. So this is the view of the AI planner. Frontline is a web-based application, so you would access from your browser. We can also implement this on local servers for those clients that have certain restrictions in terms of access. So we can do both. All of the modules are contained within the platform, so there you can find all of them under the license. And now I'm going to show you how the AI planner is able to generate a schedule or refine a schedule very quickly using AI and using, in this case, some past project information that we have on the demo version, so that it can do this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a schedule where I have some activities, and then on top of this schedule, I want to add some new scope that a different team from the project has given us. So I've uploaded my schedule directly from P6, and then I'm going to add this schedule so that it is shown here. No? So here we have a specific project schedule. This is a refinery project with all of these activities. Now, what I'm going to do is I've received this new inspection scope, which I have in a Word document. This could be an email, could be an Excel, could be a Word document, could be a PDF. Basically, this is a new scope for a new vessel where I have some activities. I need to open and clean for inspection. I need to inspect it, hydro test, reinstall. So with AI, it's as simple as uploading this Word document. Let me close it. I'm going to upload this Word document, and then I'm going to give it a prompt. I'm going to select this document, which is here, and I'm going to ask the AI, please add the activities described on the document at the end of the schedule under a new summary task called V1500. All of the activities with a finish to start relationship. So I'm going to click generate. It will read this prompt. It will read this document that I've uploaded, and then it has added these activities at the end under a new WBS activity that is called what I described. And then you have all of these activities. Now, let's say I want to break down this hydro test. I can select this activity and then just ask the AI break down this activity in multiple steps. I click generate subtasks. It will then look at this activity, look at past history in terms of how hydro tests are typically broken down. So if I come here, it has broken down my hydro test activity into a review of the hydro test package, set up the equipment for hydro test, fill it with water, pressurize, inspect for leaks, etc., etc. And this, with this tool, we believe that a planner can be much more efficient in developing the first pass schedule, which typically takes a long time. So using past history, using the scope documents that are shared by the different team members, all of this together, build this first pass schedule. And then from here, go into all the other modules to optimize it or to analyze it. From here, it's very easy. You can either download it directly or export it to the different modules. Now I'm going to showcase the optimizer module and all of the things that can be done here to optimize your schedule. So the way it works is very simple. Also, as in the previous case, I'm going to upload a schedule. This is my current project schedule, the same schedule that I want to analyze it. I want to study what if scenarios, make changes, and see what is the impact. So I've uploaded this schedule. And then one of the things we always recommend is if you just let the AI make changes, it will make changes that maybe are not applicable to your project case because it will make changes based on its knowledge. But in most cases, the particularities of each project, each facility, each site are very different. And we always recommend to define what we call the boundaries of the optimization, basically the limits in which the AI can look for solutions, but it cannot go beyond these limits. So the way to do this is to define what we call constraints. So by clicking on this button, the software will generate what we call a constraint template, where you can select all the different fields from P6 that may be relevant for you to then filter and apply those constraints. And in this way, you can set the boundaries of the project such that the AI only makes changes that are controlled by you, approved by you, and that the results are relevant to what you're looking for. Because, as I said at the beginning, the AI will study thousands of options in seconds, but in most cases, those options are irrelevant and have zero value to you as a planner. Here, what you want is very tailored, defined, prescribed changes so that it finds what you're looking for. You just click confirm. It will generate a constraint template that is downloaded, and I will show you a couple of examples of how it works that I have prepared already. So the first case that I want to show you is I want to run an analysis where I'm capping the number of resources allocated to different activities with the goal of bringing down total resources. So this constraint template that we've developed and that is generated allows you to add constraints for different categories like tasks, resources, calendars, etc. In this particular case, I'm going to focus on the resources. My schedule has 7 types of different resources: scaffolders, pipe fitters, hot bolting crew, inspection, heat exchangers, equipment, and welding. And then I have my distribution, my current distribution on the project. And this column in yellow is where I've added my constraint. I want to ask the AI, hey, can you come up with a schedule that instead of 23 scaffolding crews peak only considers 15? Same for pipe fitters, from 29 crews on the peak day to only 22 crews. Hot bolting, I'm going to keep it the same. Inspection, I'm going to keep it the same. Heat exchanger crews, I want to bring it down. Same for equipment. So once I upload this, I save this, I close it, I come back to Frontline, I import these constraints. This is the resource constraints. I'm going to ask Frontline to study the the sequence on the schedule and see if it can find an option that complies with these constraints. I do not want Frontline to change any duration of any individual activity. What does this mean? The activity durations I've defined, I do not want the AI to change them. If I'm doing something in 2 days, I do not want the AI to come and say, hey, you could do it in 1.5 days because in the past, you did it faster. I do not want that. I only want the AI to look at the sequence and see what changes do I need to do in order to comply with these constraints. So I've only selected this option, only changed the activity lag. You could also change the activity relation. I've uploaded my constraints, so I'm going to click Optimize. And then you will see that on these 3 different graphs, the different options will be plotted on this graph. In this particular case, because I'm not changing activity duration and I'm only capping the resources, Frontline will try to look for the best solution that complies with this particular constraint. And it has finished already. So it has exhausted all possible options. You've seen how fast it is, and it is finished. I'm going to focus on this graph on the top right, which has project duration on the horizontal. In this case, the project duration is 25 days, and it has project cost on the vertical. This large red dot is my baseline schedule, the schedule that I've uploaded. It is shown in red because it is not complying with the constraints, which is obvious, right? Because I'm setting the constraints lower to the actual resource allocation. From there, Frontline has studied the different options and is representing the ones that do comply, which are shown as dots in this graph. All of them you can select. In this case, there's only one. You click on it, and you will get a quick comparison in terms of high-level KPIs for the project. As you can see, the first and most important, the constraints are satisfied. The duration of the project is the same, but the cost has been reduced. Why? Because the resource allocation has been reduced significantly. The critical path still remains the same. There's 38 tasks on the critical path, and no activity duration has been changed. So this option is the best option that would satisfy the constraints. You can directly download this option in P6 by clicking the XCR button. So it will generate a schedule with these changes implemented on it so that you can then update your schedule. You can see the changes in Excel also, or you can go online and see the details. So when you click on details, we will show a comparison of the old schedule and the optimized schedule. And it is shown one on top of the other. So all of the activities are duplicated. In blue, you have the old schedule activity. In green, you have the new schedule activity. Obviously, reviewing a schedule with 1,000 activities, now 2,000 because we're showing one on top of the other, it's a bit daunting. No? So we have this very convenient filters at the top that help you to just focus on what you're interested in. So if you see, we have many different filters, but some of them have a banner with a number. These are the number of activities that are falling within this category. So if I want to see which activities Frontline has changed, I just click on activities, in this case, that are starting later. So it will filter out for those activities that have a later start date from the original schedule. So these are the activities that Frontline has postponed in order to meet the resource constraints. As any scheduling tool, you can then filter further using naming convention, IDs, etc. Here at the top, you have different tabs for the comparison. If you want to see the particular details, you can go, for example, to the task resource tab. So here you'll have the same information, but in this case, you get all the details on the task. No? What was the start date? What's the finish date? If it has resource allocated, etc. In this particular case, we wanted to reduce resources, right? We wanted to bring down scaffold days from 23 to 15. And in the same way, each resource is represented on a histogram. In blue, you have the old schedule. In green, you have the optimized schedule. So as you can see, the original schedule had 23 scaffold days on the peak day, which was the first day. This has been reduced to 15. Overall, a significant reduction. Same for pipe fitters. We wanted to bring down from 29 to 22. Inspection teams remain the same. Heat exchangers, we want to bring it down. So here you can, obviously you can download all the data, but this is to show that it is complying with the initial constraints that we gave it for each of the different resources. You can also look at the progress curves and see how the two options compare. In this case, obviously the duration reduction is not changed, but some activities start and end dates are changed. So that's why you see in blue is the plan, and in black is your optimized progress curve. And then we also have some curves, some graphical representation that shows you where each of the crews are working at times. So you have, for example, a heat exchanger crew. They start with this activity on the 15th of June. Then they move to the next activity, so on and so forth. And the same way, this is the old project, the old version, and in green you have the optimized version. And then you may say, hey, this is great, but it is not reducing the duration, and what everybody cares about is reducing the duration. So then I'm going to show you an example where the duration is reduced. In this case, I'm going to enable to reduce the duration. And here, I'm going to show you how it looks on the constraint template, how I've limited the changes that the AI can make on activities. So here, instead of the resource tab, I'm looking at the task tab. And here I will have a list of all of the activities with the name of the activity code, start and end dates, and the duration. In this particular case, this project, I'm looking at it in hours, but you can also change it to days or weeks, depending on the time frame that you prefer. For most activities, I've done what we call fixing the activity duration. So I'm saying that, for example, for this activity, that's a retubing of a heat exchanger, the minimum and maximum duration should be the same as the duration that I have on my P6 file. But for some activities, which I know and the AI knows that can be done faster or slower with more or less resources, I'm going to leave it blank so that the AI can study the different alternatives and tell me whether it makes sense to allocate more crews to do this faster, or maybe this is not critical work, so you can even remove some crews in case you have more than one crew from this activity to use them somewhere else or bring down resources. In the same way, I close this, I import these constraints, and now, once they are uploaded, I'm going to enable Frontline to make changes on the task durations, but it will only make changes on those activities that I have pre-identified. So again, I click Optimize. Same thing, it will rerun the calculations, and it will display the different results on this graph. And now you see that the graph looks significantly different. Instead of just two options, which was when we did not allow any changes on the tasks, and we wanted to reduce resources. Now there are many, many different options because we have many tasks that could have one crew, two crews, three crews allocated to the activity to do it faster or slower, and that decision will have an impact on project duration, project cost, project resources. So again, focusing on the top right where we have project duration on the horizontal and project cost on the vertical. This time, this large blue dot with a B is the schedule I've uploaded. And from here, Frontline has done some optimization trajectories looking for different criteria. So for example, in green, all of these dots here are options that try to reduce the project duration. So the criteria that is given the most weight is reducing the project duration at all costs and at any type of resource allocation. In yellow, for example, you have options that level project resources so that they're making that distribution more homogeneous. You have different options. You have options that reduce resource peaks, that minimize cost, one that we call balance, which is giving the same weight to each criteria. And here the same way. For example, this option I've selected is reducing the project duration in 1 day, it's increasing the resource costs by 1%. It is maintaining the resource allocation that I had, but it is probably it is increasing some of the resources and some activities, so it is adding a little bit more cost. Same way, you can download the P6 file, or you can check the details, which is what we always recommend to do before going into downloading this back to P6. So in this case, same thing. In blue, the baseline schedule. In green, the optimized schedule. In this case, some of the activities have a shorter duration. Frontline has identified that some activities, if those activities have a reduced duration, then the overall project can be reduced by 1 day. So if I click on activities with a shorter duration, it will only show those activities that have been optimized. No? In this case, one of the activities at the beginning of the turnaround, hot bolting of equipment. So it has reduced the duration basically in half. How? If I go into my task resources, I keep my shorter duration. In blue is the original activity. In green is the optimized one. It has increased labor resources to reduce duration. For example, in this activity of removing blinds, it has, instead of 1 crew of pipe fitters, it has increased it to 2 crews of pipe fitters. If I look at the resources, it's going to be fairly similar to the original schedule. In some cases, it's going to be a little bit higher. So for example, in the case of pipe fitters, it's increasing the numbers on the 1 day. And then in terms of the progress here, you definitely see a difference because the project duration is reduced by 1 day on this 25-day project. So the S-curve will look a little bit different. Again, all of these options is a fully developed schedule with resource allocated to it, with the cost, etc. So any of these options you can download, or you can see the details to see how it is comparing to the schedule you've uploaded. In this case, I'm selecting an option that is finishing later, so you can see the progress curves, how resources are being allocated differently, etc., etc. With this, I'll go back to my presentation and wrap up to give some time for questions, or maybe you want to see other things on the platform. So in terms of planning and scheduling, typically how it works is you have a planner that designs, then the software simulates, and the planner together with the wider team tries to improve it. There's a number of iterations, and we get to an option that maybe is suboptimal. With Frontline, you can bypass all of this. You can get the planner, an expert planner, to provide the inputs. The AI can design it. The AI can simulate it, and then the planner can choose the different options, and you can get hundreds of optimal plans very quickly compared with the original, or let's say the existing way of working. We've seen benefits on all the projects that we've been working with. It is true that reducing the project duration in certain projects is hard, because that critical path is dependent on activities that cannot be done faster, or it has already been studied exhaustively. So there is little to do, but guaranteed, it is almost guaranteed that there is an option that can reduce execution costs by reducing or optimizing the way resources are allocated to activities. And all of this is also helping the planning teams to reduce the time they spend on studying changes and delays. All of this can be quickly automated with AI, so that they only spend time looking at the results. And I want to wrap up with a case study of one of our clients, where we help them both build the schedule and then optimize the schedule and then execute the work. So how it works is, this client uploaded past projects into the platform, their current scope of work. With all of this together, with the Frontline Trender, the Frontline AI, they could reduce the time it took to develop the schedule from, typically they would say it takes 2 to 3 months. In 2 weeks, they already had a first draft working version of that schedule. Obviously, it was not the final one, but at least they have a first draft of the schedule with all the scope, with a high-level sequence to start working on it. Next step was able to help them optimize the schedule, and in this particular case, we did find an option that where they were able to reduce the turnaround duration by 1.5 days and the execution cost by 11%. And then lastly, with the Frontline Analyzer module, they were able to analyze how the project was trending throughout the turnaround to see if there were any impacts and any mitigation measures that they could implement. With this, I want to finish and leave the floor for questions.
Well, thank you, Luis, for this insightful and clear presentation. It was very interesting to watch. Thank you for that. From my perspective, I'm curious, what distinguishes you from your competitors?
But thanks for the question. The main distinction that we have from our competitors right now is that Frontline is an end-to-end solution, and with that I mean it looks at the past, it looks at the present, it looks at the future. Most competitors are either a scheduling software tool, so for you to build a schedule, or they focus on a certain area like risk analysis, optimization, data analytics. So they're disconnected. We are the first solution that is integrating your schedule across the past, the present, and the future.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing. And if you look at the usage, what kind of typical customer feedback do you get?
Well, again, thanks for the question. Typically, at the beginning, there's a lot of going back and forth because this is a new paradigm in terms of how you schedule, right? Where you go from the way of working, which I was also doing 5 years ago, to this way of working. There's a little bit of change that needs to be embraced. So at the beginning, there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of hand-holding. We are always present. We help with that. So at the beginning is setting the teams for success, understanding that there's going to be some change in terms of how you schedule. And from there, we typically see that after 1 month, 1.5 months of usage, we do not receive any questions anymore.
Okay, cool. Great to hear. To the audience, if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the Q&A box on the left-hand side. We got a question coming in. It's how much history or historical schedules does Frontline need to work?
Yeah, good question. Obviously, the more the better. But what we always say is at least one schedule, right? Something to compare with. And also, depending on the type of projects that you're doing, sometimes more is not equal to better because if the projects are very different in nature, then it doesn't make sense to make a comparison. Like the saying goes, you want to compare apples to apples, so it's not the same comparing a electrical power plant to a highway project. So the minimum is one, but if it's a project that is very similar in nature, it can already provide a lot of value and a lot of insights.
Okay, but it's great to hear. So basically, there's not that much needed to start using your platform.
No, and sometimes people are like, oh, now I need to go into the past data. You just you just go to your inbox, search for that project, download the P6 file, upload that file to Frontline, and that's all of it.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing. There's another question coming in is how easy or difficult is it to start using Frontline, and how quickly is value realized?
Okay, another good question. As mentioned, fairly quickly. The only thing you need to do is upload the schedule, and then also let's say think of and describe what is the goal that you are looking for. No, if you have a project you want to optimize for either reducing the duration, the cost, the use of resources, maybe there's some constraints and challenges. This sounds simple, but it is not that simple to sort of think what are the goals that you want to look for, and then translate those goals into constraints that can be set up in Frontline. So that typically will take 1 or 2 weeks to go through this process. But then once that is clear, it's very easy to implement. It will take less than half an hour. We will be there to help. And then the results are clear. You've seen how fast the platform is. Within a week or two from start of deployment, you can already see how it is benefiting the project schedule.
Yeah, and it also sounds really convenient that you do some hand holding, like you just stated. If that's
yes,
needed.
that's for personal reasons, because I miss my time at the construction sites. So we always look forward to that. But also, what we always say is that this is risk-free in the sense that you already have a schedule. Whatever Frontline finds, whatever benefits are found, they're the cherry on the cake. But in the worst case, you still remain with your original plan. So in this sense, it's a risk-free tool.
Risk-free, yeah. Okay, thank you. Let's see if there are any other questions. If there are, please type them in the Q&A box. Let's see. I think then we are out of the questions. I think then we can conclude the meeting, the webinar of today. So Luis, thank you for the presentation, and thank you all for attending this webinar. Our next episode of Energy Tech Talks will be announced soon. Create an account on technologycatalog.com or follow us on LinkedIn to stay up to date. And yeah, wish you all a great day or a great evening, and see you next time. Bye.
Okay, thanks a lot, everyone. Anything, you have my email here, so you can reach out, or you can reach out at the folks at Technology Catalog. Thanks a lot for your time, and looking forward to continuing this conversation.
Thank you, Luis. Have a great day. Bye.